Hi there. This video is for parents. I've given a lot of thought lately to families. Um, my family, your family, families in general, our goals for our kids, our priorities, and how we can organize our time and activities in a way that reflect our values and our goals for our kids. So I had a few thoughts I wanted to share with you today. Families today, of course, are super busy. And I say that to every parent probably every day, just with all the activities on top of school and homework. Our family has specific guidelines that we follow when we decide what activities we're going to pursue outside of the home. But generally speaking, we have a general rule, which is that music is the most important thing that we do during the day. It is the thing we do first, and it is how we spend the majority of our time, just our school hours during the school for our homeschool kids, and after school for our kids who go to public school. And I mean, it is the first thing we do before any schoolwork or homework or chores. So I know some of you are thinking, now, wait a minute. School should come first. Music is it's just for fun. It's just an extracurricular activity. If my child fails his history test, that could go on his permanent record. That could affect his college admissions. If my child bombs a piano recital, there are really no consequences. But I disagree. So let me share a couple of examples from my life just to kind of show you where I'm going with this. So when I was growing up, well, I was actually a terrible student when I was younger. I was always in trouble and I never paid attention. So I'm just telling you this so you don't think I'm some academic superstar, because I'm not. But I did outgrow that a little bit as I got older. But when I was in high school, when I was a freshman in high school, I was invited to take advanced chemistry and physics with the seniors because I was pretty good at science. And I even went on to major in chemistry in college. Until my senior year, when I realized that I made a mistake and I really wanted to be a musician. But during my sophomore year, I was taking organic chemistry and I was struggling with a problem. And I asked some of the graduate assistants if they could give me a little bit of help. And they all kind of winced and said, "Oh, we don't really remember organic chemistry. Maybe ask so and so, he's pretty good at that." And so out of the, I don't remember, 8 or 10 or 12 graduate students we had, only one of them remembered organic chemistry. Now, in order to be a graduate student in chemistry, you have to have really good grades in chemistry, including organic chemistry, and you have to have a strong GRE chemistry score, which is 30% organic chemistry. And so it really surprised me that these students who were, just finished their undergraduate coursework, that they couldn't remember any organic chemistry. So anyway, fast forward a few years, several years, actually. So my oldest son is in college now, but when he was in high school, he came to me and with his chemistry homework and asked for help. And I looked at it and I could not help him because I could not remember any of it. And I was a little stunned and embarrassed too, but just thinking of the years and years and years I spent studying chemistry and the tens of thousands of dollars I paid in tuition. And I was a good student too. It's not like I was a poor student. Just to have it all gone, that was quite a revelation. So set that story aside for a minute, and I'm going to tell you another one. There was a time in my life where music had kind of become a source of stress for me, and I had some perfectionistic tendencies going on, and I wasn't playing the way I wanted. I was frustrated, and I just walked away, and I walked away for over a decade. And eventually, when I came back, you've heard the saying, it was like riding a bike, and it was like riding a bike. It was like I had never left. It all came back. It all came back quickly and easily, and let's consider these two examples for just a minute. So why is it that I can walk away from for one subject for over a decade and lose everything, and I could walk away from another subject for over a decade and not lose a thing? And so the answer I've come up with is that one thing is comprised of facts and one thing is comprised of skills. So when our children sit in school, our the students are listening to lectures, reading textbooks, taking exams, doing homework problems, but that information isn't going to stick around. How much do you remember from your school days? And I'm willing to bet it's not a lot. And if you have any questions about what the general population remembers, have you ever seen that game show, Are You Smarter Than a Fifth Grader? And I don't even know if it plays anymore. I don't really watch a lot of TV, but I bet you could find it on YouTube if you're curious or if you haven't seen it. So on the other hand, we've all heard the stories about the patients in the nursing home with dementia. They can't even remember the names of their children, but they can sit down and play the piano sonata they learned when they were 16. And what schools and really people in general, what they don't realize is that the paradigm of education has changed. So everything, pretty much everything you need to know in the world can be accessed in seconds on your device, your handheld device, right? And you don't even need to write essays anymore because they're artificial intelligence that can do this for you. And I'm not saying that we should not teach these subjects, that we shouldn't teach math or language or history or science. I wholeheartedly affirm that students and adults, even really, I know a lot of adults who could use help, but people should know about the world around them, why things are the way they are, how the world works, how we kind of got to where we are as a society. But I really think that schools have it backwards. So students are going to lose facts, but they will retain skills. So the majority of their day should be spent developing skills like communication and writing, speaking, critical thinking skills. So learning to research and vet facts for credibility, learning to defend your viewpoint, learning to spot faulty reasoning, practical skills like baking, woodworking, and skills in the arts, so painting, dance, and music. Because even though people consider the arts to be unnecessary, really, arts really enrich our lives. When was the last time you watched a movie that didn't have a film score? And what would that look like if you watched one with no music? It wouldn't be the same. So if I have to make a decision about how we're going to use our limited time as a family, then music is going to come first. I'm not saying that because I want them to be like me or because I want them to be professional musicians. But whatever they do in life, whether they're farmers or dentists or pastry chefs, music is a gift that will enrich their lives, and it will enrich the lives of the people around them too. So that's kind of my goal and my line of thinking when I'm prioritizing our activities at home. And I also want to consider that the more time they spend developing their musical skills now, the better musicians they will be in adulthood. And therefore, the more fulfills, really, because you want to be at a point where you could sit down and play anything, because that's quite a satisfying experience. So it's like money in the bank, right? If you put a quarter in once a month, by the time you're an adult and you want to make a withdrawal, you'll have like probably less than $100. But if you're putting in $1 every day, that's over $10,000 by the time you're an adult. So so consider that when you are thinking about how much time your children are spending on their activities during the day. So I know some parents are going to be concerned because good grades equals college scholarships, right? Um, Not necessarily. There are a lot of ways to do college besides the traditional way. You can do, I've given this a lot of thought and a lot of research, but I don't want to spend like 6 hours illuminating you on this topic. But just because everybody else is playing the game doesn't mean that you have to play the game. So some parents encourage their children to get good grades because they want their children to develop a good work ethic. And while that's noble and honorable, just consider for a minute that your child might have great teachers and great administrators at their school, but the Department of Education standards are not designed to take into account the well-being of your child, whether they're getting adequate rest and recreation and adequate time with their families. So the expectations are that schools need to have fantastic test scores in order to receive more funding. And so that creates a huge burden for your child and all children. Students spend hours and hours a day at school only to come home and spend more time on homework in the afternoons. And, I know so many high school students who are just not getting enough sleep. And that's a critical time in their lives when their brains are developing, all the way from babyhood to even through high school and college. Your brain is still developing, and you want your child to get adequate rest so that they're capable of learning and they're capable of making good decisions. I just want you to consider that you are the gatekeeper of your child's time and well-being, and so you can develop a good work ethic in your child and help them develop good boundaries at the same time. You can help them discern, which activities and projects are deserving of his time and attention. And I'm not just talking about which extracurricular activities. If your child's teacher is assigning a lot of homework, then maybe your child doesn't need to strive for A's in every class. Maybe C's are fine if that gives your child more rest and less stress. So that's something for you to think about as a family. I know this is kind of radical. So I'm kind of a radical person, in case you haven't figured that out, but that's what we do at our house. So music, if music comes first, and if you've met my kids, if you've heard them play, they're pretty fantastic musicians. And that isn't by accident, and it isn't because they just have some special gift. We have designed it to be that way in our family. And I do want to mention that sometimes we set up music practice to be like a chore. Unload the dishwasher, do your homework, and then practice your clarinet. And I have definitely been guilty of this, especially with my older children. And when we do it that way, when we assign it that way, we risk giving our children the impression that music is a chore that needs to be done before we can move on to more fun activities. So I've been trying to get away from that, and instead of framing it as a task to be endured, just framing it as like a cool thing we get to do, or just something that we do throughout the course of our day, and not just for one setting. So there are times my children do sit down and work on the assignments their private teachers have given them, but they also just sit down and they play pieces they enjoy, pop music, film scores. They play duets and trios together, or with me or with friends. We play music games, we listen to music, we talk about music. And people who visit our house comment about, oh, there's always like 1 or 5 instruments playing all the time. So it's kind of like, Charlie walks around with his violin, just walks through the house playing, and they kind of cycle through the piano, and it's like some crazy musical carousel. But that didn't happen by accident. We really carefully cultivated it that way because we wanted them to know that music isn't just something that we do, it's who we are, and that they are musicians. So if my children come home with straight C's in school, like, I'm totally fine with that. Studies have shown that there's really no correlation between academic performance, or even where your child goes to college and their future success in their career. So I'm just telling you that in case like those are things that you worry about. But this is what we do, and this is why. And so uh, if you haven't given it any thought before, then maybe this is something you can consider. And of course, I don't expect every family has their own priorities, their own goals, their own needs, and every child has his or her own temperament. And so I don't presume to tell you what to do, but I just hope that maybe there's something from this that can benefit your family. So please let me know though if you have questions or you want to talk about it more. Okay, see ya.